Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and welcome to another week of Living the Wiccan Life. In this episode, we bring you interviews with Dianic High Priestess, author and musician Ruth Barrett, and with the great Amber Kay and Azrael Aaron Kay of Ardentain. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and we're still at PantheaCon, and we're here with Ruth Barrett. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
And are you enjoying PantheaCon?
I'm having a great time. I'm really tired, which is from having a good time. Yeah.
I believe you're merchanting or
Merchanting.
helping to merchant?
I'm running a booth. I'm having a concert in a few hours and have a workshop in the morning.
So you're having a very busy day.
Very busy day, yes.
Well, thank you very much for taking some time out to talk to us.
My pleasure.
And for our viewers who may not know anything, because some of our viewers are pagan, some are not, would you perhaps talk a little bit about what you do?
Sure.
And then we'll talk about how they could contact you to learn more.
Sure. Let's see. A little bit like background kind
Whatever
of thing,
you would like
where
to talk about.
where I fit in the scheme of things. Sure. I'm a Dianic ordained High Priestess. I was ordained by Z Budapest to take over her LA ministry in 1981.
That's wonderful.
And that was in Los Angeles, and I served the LA women's community for 20 years, and then I relocated to the Midwest in 2000 and formed a national Dianic women's organization called Temple of Diana, which, if people want to look that up, it's online.
Oh, do you know the URL offhand?
www.templeofdiana.org.
Excellent. That will appear in letters at the bottom of your screen.
And the other part of, so I've been a teacher, especially around ritual and women's magic specifically. That's the area of my work. And then I've been involved in pagan music I'm one of the handful of early pagan musicians that had out pagan music, starting in I think 1981 was my first recording. I just released my 10th project, Garden of Mysteries, and so I'm still standing.
That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think a lot of people in the wider world are only just beginning to become aware of pagan music. And for anyone who's watching, I would highly recommend that you learn more about it. And if someone wanted to acquire Garden of Mysteries, how would they do that?
I have a website. It's distributed other places, but easily. I'm www.dancingtreemusic.com.
Dancingtreemusic.com.
Right, and I've always done my own stuff. I've always, been responsible for creating my own products, and so I wouldn't have to answer to anybody.
That's wonderful.
So.
And very hard to do.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It takes a lot of skill to do that.
It does.
I want to ask you, and please pardon me for being just a little disorganized, but the day has been that way.
No problem.
For those of our viewers who are not familiar with Dianic Wicca, could you speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. Yes. I assumed that would be a question you would ask. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what Dianic is, which is always a sad thing for me. But if you don't know and you hear rumors or you assume, part of the assumption is that if it's a women-only or goddess-centered tradition, that somehow it's against men, and that it's not the case. It's not about men. That's the part that's true. It's just not about men. It's not against men. It's not about men. Just like there's men's mysteries, which are not about women.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. So
so anyone out there who's afraid that Dianics are anti-male is mistaken.
I'm not saying there may be individual people, because there's always going to be the few that are the stereotypes, right? But just like there's bad people in the world that represent religions that are very in theory are good. However, that's not the purpose of it. It's not reactionary. It's not about.
It's about the special aspect of feminine mysteries.
It is,
and not anything about anybody else's mysteries.
That's right. It's about that. And so someone, for example, could be Dianic and also have share a different tradition with a male partner, or with a son, or or create a family tradition that's appropriate to then those mysteries. Okay.
Wonderful.
So I really Dianic tradition, which it's basically credited to Z Budapest as being who revived it. She doesn't claim to have created it, because women's mysteries is as old as time, where women would have exclusive rites that have to do with birth and death and childbirth and menopause and menarche and those types of what we call the blood mysteries. But there's also we live in in the 20th century and the 21st century. Basically, this tradition evolved to include also the fact that as a woman, I live in a culture that is male dominated, that has big aspects of woman hating involved. So it impacts my life, and so it's not, we don't live in a vacuum. We're influenced by the culture we live in, and so part of the tradition that's perhaps different from ancient times is that we also have to deal with the fact that how do we heal ourselves from the effects of the dominant culture. And of course that's not exclusive to a feminist tradition, because patriarchy hurts men as in addition to hurting women. But we deal with our issues around it.
Yes.
Okay. There's other feminist traditions that have men and women, like reclaiming.
Yes.
So we celebrate what we call women's mysteries, which are the rites that have to do with our transitions, be they physical, emotional, psychic. Not only because this is where we live, this body, okay, but the fact that we also live again in this culture and work to heal from the effects of this culture. And who would we be without it if we were free? If we were free of that enculturation. So it's evolving. It's always evolving.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think the worst mistake people make is when they look to their spirituality to not evolve and think that it should be perfect and never changing. And that's not what spirituality is at all.
It's a very foreign concept to me. I didn't grow up with that kind of notion. I think when we even use the word tradition, people think it's something fixed.
Yeah.
As though it's set in some kind of thing. Wrong idea. And that's never been my concept. That we live in the world we live in. We have to make it relevant. So everything that happens to us, we have to filter through the context of our lives, and therefore our spirituality must evolve to meet the challenges of today, whatever the today is. And
tomorrow as well.
And tomorrow, when we get there,
when we get there.
When the next moment arrives. So it's not about recreating something supposedly ancient. The only thing that I could say is that what connects us to our ancient foremothers, our ancestors, is this piece here is consistent.
Absolutely.
And the rest of it is history or herstory, or however you want to talk about that.
Yeah. The changing world.
Right.
You said you have a concert tonight.
Yes.
And obviously our viewers will not be able to attend that concert.
Yes.
But where will you be performing in the future that people can come and see you?
Oh my goodness. I'm planning on doing more types of, concerts, various places. I kind of go where I apply to go to, and I'm involved with the Michigan Women's Music Festival, which happens every August. There's anywhere from
very famous festival.
4,000 to 6,000 to 10,000 women who come to that. I'm involved with that every year. Our organization does a wonderful gathering in the fall called Daughters of Diana Gathering, and but women can find out about that through our website. There's no consistent place I could tell you about. It's just wherever. But I have my new recording, Garden of Mysteries, I'm very excited about.
Well, I hope that our viewers will run right out and buy that.
Thank you.
and that they will support you in your concerts when
Thank
they do
you.
when they do happen to be there.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for taking this time with us.
I appreciate
We really appreciate it.
I forgot to mention something important.
Please do.
I have a book.
That's very important.
I have a book. It's called Women's Rights, Women's Mysteries, Intuitive Ritual Creation. And Llewellyn published it this last year. And if
Actually, I've heard good things about this book.
It's gotten rave reviews. And it's a book that women can use for creating our own rites of passage and facilitating them. I address issues that have just never been in print before with regards to our tradition.
That's wonderful.
And men can also use the book as a ritual making guide, absolutely, because it's not a cookbook. It doesn't tell you, you do this, you do this, you do this.
That's very important.
Yeah, it's actually about how to retrieve the information that's authentic and shape it into something, a meaningful experience.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm very glad you thought to mention that.
Thank you.
And I hope that we have a chance to interview you again in the future.
My pleasure. I'd love to.
And thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Thanks.
I hope that you enjoyed our interview with Ruth Barrett and that you'll join us again for part 2 of our episode and our interview with Amber Kay and Azrael Aaron Kay. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis, and I'm very pleased to announce the publication in paperback of Witch School's Lessons for the First Degree. Available now for pre-order from witchschool.com and coming soon to a bookstore near you, together with Lessons for the Second Degree and Lessons for the Third Degree.